sternum and joints of the shoulder girdle, sternoclavicular joint and acromioclavicular joint. I think that you already know that rib joint with vertebral column with the help of two joints. One joint between head of the rib and fovea castalis. Do you remember half fossa superiorly, half fossa inferiorly, and between them we have fovea castalis and head of the rib, and between them we receive articulatio capitis costa, joint of the head of the rib, articulatio capitis costa. Tell me please, is it simple or compound joint?
Compound.
Simple.
Both of you right, because in some ribs it is simple. In which ribs? Simple joint.
Floating.
Not floating. First rib.
First,
rib.
And,
First 11 and 12.
Yeah.
because these ribs first rib joined only with the first vertebra. 11th and 12th is the same joint with corresponding vertebrae. And ribs from second till 10th joined with two nearest vertebrae. That is why joints from second till 10th compound. First, 11th and 12th, they are simple. It is, this joint is, shape of this joint, it is head of the rib, it has spheroid shape, that is why it is spheroid joint. It is simple or compound, spheroid, combined, because it's work together with the next joint, with joint between transverse process and tubercle of the rib. This is articulatio costa transversalia, and they work together. Ribs moves upward and downward. Clear? They are combined joints, and both of them are uniaxial joints. One again, joint of the head of the rib. It is simple in first, 11th, and 12th, and compound in joints from second to 10th. All of them are spheroid, uniaxial, and combined, and ligaments. In compound joints between crest of the head of the rib, crista capitis costa, and intervertebral disc, we have intra-articular ligament, that is ligamentum capitis costa intra-articularia. And this ligament is absent in simple joints. Clear? And outside from this joint, from head of the rib to bodies of the vertebrae, we have ligamentum capitis costa radiatum. It goes to all directions, downward, medially, upward. That is ligamentum capitis costa radiatum. Two ligaments you need to know in joint of the head of the rib. Next joint. Joint between tubercle and transverse process. That is articulatio costa transversalia. It is simple because tubercle joint with fovea castalis and transverse vertebrae. Simple. Cylindrical joint because tubercle it has cylindrical shape. Cylindrical joint of the first type because this cylinder moves in articular surface. That is cylindrical joint of the first type, uniaxial and combined. And which axis and which movements? Look here. What is this axis? It is frontal axis, and in frontal axis we move the ribs upward and downward. If ribs moves upward, that is in time of inspiration, and moves ribs downward in time of expiration. Clear? Next. And ligament in this joint has the same name like name of this joint. Ligamentum costa transversarium. The same ligament like name of this joint. Next, joints between ribs and sternum. I think you remember that upper 7 ribs, they are true ribs. They joint with sternum. And we have synchondrosis between first rib and sternum synchondrosis sternocostalis. Another 6 ribs from second till seventh, they make joints with rib, with sternum, articulatio sternocostalis. And these joints are simple, plain, combined with these 2 joints and uniaxial. The same like in this joint. That is, we move the ribs upward and downward. Ligaments. Ligaments, we can see here, ligamentum sternocostalium radiatum. And these ligaments from right side and from left side join together and makes in front of sternum membrane, that is membrana sterni. False ribs, they are 8th, 9th, and 10th. They fused with upper cartilage of the upper rib with the help of syndesmosis, and lateral sides of these cartilages has joined between cartilages. Articulatio interchondralis, simple, plain, uniaxial, combined joint. That is all about articulations of ribs. And now some words about shoulder girdle. Between clavicle and sternum, we have sternoclavicular joint, articulatio sternoclavicularis. It is, help me, simple or compound? Simple, because sternum and clavicle, only 2 articular surfaces. It is simple. Shape of this joint is saddle joint. Saddle joints usually biaxial joints, but this saddle joint has intra-articular disc, discus articularis. That is why it is complex joint and it is multi-axial, the same like temporomandibular joint, if you remember. Temporomandibular joint was condyloid and complex because it has intra-articular disc, and multi-axial. And here it is the same, multi-axial joint, and again, simple, saddle, complex because it has intra-articular disc between articular surfaces, and multi-axial and combined joint. It's work together with acromioclavicular joint. These 2 joints work together. Sternoclavicular and acromioclavicular joints work together. Clear it is? That is, which movements are possible and which axis of movements. Oh, for example, what is this axis? What is this axis? Sagittal axis. And in sagittal axis, we can move clavicle how? Upward and downward. Is it possible? Yes, upward and downward. Now, what is this axis? Vertical axis. In vertical axis, we can move clavicle forward and backward. Is it possible? Forward and backward. And last axis, it is impossible to answer that it is frontal, but more better, that is own axis of clavicle. And in this axis is possible rotation of clavicle. Rotation of clavicle, if I move hand backward, in this case, clavicle moves, that is rotation, in small degree is possible rotation of clavicle. Clear it is? And circumduction, the same is possible. Circumduction, that is also is possible in sternoclavicular joint. Now, ligaments. Between right and left clavicle, above of jugular notch, we have interclavicular ligament, ligamentum interclaviculare. Between sternum and clavicle, we have sternoclavicular anterior ligament and sternoclavicular posterior ligament. And between first rib and clavicle, we have costoclavicular ligament, ligamentum costoclaviculare. Clear? And last joint, that is clavicular joint, articulatio acromioclavicularis. It is simple, two articular surfaces. It is ellipsoid, and it also has intra-articular disc, discus articularis. That is why it is complex and combined and multi-axial joint. The same axis of movements like in sternoclavicular, and the same movements upward, downward, forward and backward, and rotation of clavicle. Clear? And last, ligaments in this joint. Acromioclavicular ligament, here it is, and coracoclavicular ligament between coracoid process and tuberculum canaidum, coracoclavicular ligament. And scapula has three own ligaments of the scapula. One is above of incisura scapulae, here it is, superior transverse ligament of the scapula. Between glenoid cavity and spina scapulae, here it is, inferior transverse ligament of the scapula. And last, between coracoid process and acromion, here, ligamentum coracoacromiale, above of shoulder joint, coracoacromial ligament. That is all.